I'm looking at this backyard. You have to admit that there's some damage here.
Well, yeah, okay.
Like, what happened? There's holes.
Just the dogs.
Dogs?
Yeah.
Were you supposed to have dogs at this property?
He knew I had them. We had an understanding that I had dogs.
No.
We had
Wait.
He even got a dog from us.
Yeah, he
You
even got a
understand-
dog from us. Top it off. A German Shepherd.
You understood it wasn't allowed to have pets on this property per your lease, correct?
Well, he let me have pets.
No. That's not my question. You understood that when you signed off on the lease.
We didn't have a lease.
What did you sign?
It was a paper that he wrote down how much we were going to pay for the rent. That was about
but
it.
on that paper, it said no pets.
He
Yes,
said
no
no
pets.
chows, no pit bulls. That was
Signed
it.
it. Every single page.
So
they
you
signed
thought it was just those particular breeds of dogs
Yeah,
that he
'cause
didn't
we
want
told
you to
him we
have, or
had
just pets in
bulldogs.
general?
We had to get dogs because we're having issues with that house every day.
So he knew we had dogs.
Why do you have to have dogs?
Well, you
To
just
protect
heard
our
that
property. We're
they
getting
shot
the
up
house. They broke in our
they
house. They're stealing our
paintballs,
stuff.
So that's why.
And he was aware that you
Yes,
had
he
dogs
knew. We
for
told him we were
protection.
getting the dog.
Incorrect.
I think Judge Juarez has
Yeah.
something.
You did sign a rental agreement. It may not be the fanciest rental agreement, but I see this rental agreement
that
here.
was from the rental property afterwards.
Yes.
When we moved in, he wrote down a piece of paper.
Basically, we started with that.
And
with
then
that
he said he would
company.
never raise our rent as well on that piece of paper. So
Incorrect.
we're abiding by the no pets.
Incorrect.
But this is a month-to-month rental agreement that was signed, and it says no pets allowed,
right?
written across multiple pages,
Yes.
right? It was pretty clear. I understand what you're saying, that he knew you had it and didn't say
Yeah.
anything, but there wasn't any sort of agreement on only no pit bulls or it said no pets allowed. Okay, I
good?
think I have what I need.
All right, the parties are excused while we deliberate in this matter.
Thank you.
So we have a couple of issues to sort out here. The main one being the damages to the property and the return of the security deposit. But one issue I think we can dispose of is the defendant's cross-complaint for failing to compensate him for improvements he made to various properties at various times. And he simply didn't give us the evidence we would need to credit that claim. So I would dismiss that portion of the counterclaim outright.
I have no problem with that. I'm trying to read through this whole text litany, and he says, repairs were sent to your address a week ago,
What date was that?
The defendant said this was July 22nd.
which was beyond the date. Now,
But if they had been sent a week earlier, that would be within the 21 days. So these texts on July 22, I think, are somewhat ambiguous.
Yeah.
I think there is a
Yes.
suggestion here that he had not, in fact, sent the list of repairs.
Right.
But then a couple texts later, he says the repairs were sent to your address a week ago. So he could have been suggesting that they would be arriving any day because they were
Right.
sent on time.
Right.
So I think we have a question mark on whether the 21-day rule was met. In terms of the actual repairs that were made, I think there were some things that absolutely were not performed appropriately in terms of wear and tear, like repainting. After nearly 5 years in property,
Right.
repainting a wall
Wear and tear,
is
normal
certainly
wear.
not beyond normal wear and tear. However, we saw some pictures of damages that were far beyond
There were.
normal wear and tear. The ones that stood out to me were, of course, the holes in multiple walls,
Yeah.
the bullet holes in the window, the yard that the unauthorized dog tore up, and all of the weeds. There was also a significant amount of trash left.
well, how much in excess of the security deposit was that?
I'm looking at Exhibit C, which is the handyman's bill to him. So if you add up all of the damages that I believe were substantiated, the total would come to $1,185. And the security deposit was
$1,150.
$1,150.
I would say it's a wash.
I'm not inclined
would
to
say
make the
it's a
defendant
wash.
pay the $35.
No. 5 years he's lived there. They got a little nasty, yes. I think that's fair.
I think we have a verdict, and it is unanimous.